For our daily routines today, we're gonna start with some blending. I've made a word up here. If you notice at the end of this word, there are two of the same letter D right next to each other. So remember, when you see two of the same letter, we're gonna make that sound one time. So let's chop this one. Odd. And then we blend it back together. Odd. Odd. So here's the word odd, like strange or unusual. I'm gonna change one letter in the word odd, and we're gonna see what new word we made. Instead of an the letter O, now we have an the letter A. So will you help me chop this one? Add. Add. Let's blend it back together now. Add. It's the word add. Like if you do 1 + 1 and you get 2, that's adding. I'm gonna change one more letter now. Actually, I'm gonna switch 2 letters. So I'm gonna switch this D and this letter A, and we're gonna swap them. And then we need to chop to find our new word. Chop with me. D. Add. Now let's blend it back together. Dad. And now let's read the word. Dad. This is dad, like you have a dad, maybe a mom, and they might live at home with you. Dad. I'm gonna make a whole brand new word, and we're gonna do this a couple more times. D. G. Chop this new word with me. D. G. Let's blend it back together. Dog. Dog. This is the word dog, like woof, woof. I'm gonna change one letter in the word dog, and we're gonna see what new word we get. I'm going to cover up this letter D and make it a letter C. So what sound does the C make? So let's chop our new word. G. Now let's start blending it back together. That's when we stretch out the sounds. Cog. Cog. Remember, a cog is like a gear, kind of like this, part of a wheel. It's round with like some spiky things. Yeah, that's a cog. I'm going to change this word one more time to make one more word, and then we'll be done with blending. Let's chop our new word. Odd. Let's chop it one more time. Odd. Let's start blending it back together. Cod. 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 This is the word cod. A cod is a kind of fish. Great job on blending. Next up is dictation, so you'll need a piece of handwriting paper and a pencil. For dictation today, I'm gonna say a word and we're gonna listen for the first 2 sounds in that word. And once we find those first 2, we're gonna stop chopping, okay? So the first word that I want you to say is the word got. Let's chop the word got, and we'll stop after we get those first 2 chops, because those are our first 2 sounds. G, ah. G, ah. So what do we hear first? The letter G, G, ah, and the letter O. These are the first 2 sounds in the word got. G, ah. Say the word dot. Let's chop the word dot, and we'll stop after the first 2 sounds. D, ah. D, ah. All right, so we need a finger space, and we can write what we hear. D, ah. That's the letter D and the letter O. Dot. Say the word cop. Let's chop the first two sounds in cop. K, ah. K, ah. All right, so what will we be writing? K, ah. You should write down a C and an O. Cop. Say the word cotton. Let's chop the first two sounds in the word cotton. K, ah. K, ah. That's another C and another O. Cotton. Say the word doctor. Let's chop the first two sounds in the word doctor. D, ah. D, ah. D, ah. You should write down a D and an O. Da. First two sounds in the word doctor. Say the word goggles. Remember Gregory's green goggles? Goggles. Let's chop the first two sounds in the word goggles. G, ah. G, ah. Goggles. Wow, that was a lot of letter O's. There's a letter O in each one of those words we just said. Let's try blending these two sounds together now. Ga, da, ka, ka, da, ga. All right, the last thing we have to do for daily routines is handwriting. For handwriting today, we are going to do some uppercase letters and some lowercase letters. So I want you to write the two letters that you hear in da. It's not a real word, it's just kind of some sounds. But what would we write if we were going to write the letters that make up the sounds da? D, a. And let's try our uppercase D, just to change it up a little bit. D, a. All right, what if we changed the sound to ga? Ga. Let's start with an uppercase G, g, and then a lowercase a, ga. So we have da and ga so far. How would those two letters change if we wanted it to say ca? We need an uppercase C and a lowercase a. So now we have da, ga, ca. What if we swapped these two letters, switched places, and we wanted it to say ack, ack? We would need an uppercase A and a lowercase c. Next up, we're gonna write some real words, not just some silly sounds. I wanna write the word add, and I'm gonna use an uppercase letter to practice my uppercase A. So add looks like this, add. And it's one of those words that has the double letter in it, a D and a D, but we only say the sound one time. Add. Now I want to write the word dad. D, add. D, add. Dad. Da is just like this da with another D at the end of it. D-A-D. So write the word dad and use an uppercase D to practice your uppercase letter. For the last two words, we're gonna write add and dad again, but we're gonna use lowercase letters at the beginning. So we're gonna write add, and we're gonna use a lowercase a. Add. Had to fix my A there, it was starting to float away. A-D-D. And then I wanna write dad again, but with a lowercase d. Start with a C to make a D. D. And start with a C to make a D. That's a great little rhyme that you can use to help you remember that which way your letters should go. Some people I've noticed are writing B's. This is a B, not a D. Do you see which way the round part is? The round part and then the stick. This has the stick come first and then the round part. So you have to be very careful that you're writing the letter D because we are not practicing the letter B. That has a different sound. All right. I wonder how fast I can read all of this. I'm gonna try it. You wanna listen? Ga, da, ka, da, ga, da, ga, ka, ak, add, dad. Oh my goodness. You should try it. Maybe you can't go that fast. Maybe you can go faster, but it would be fun to try. And you could even take a video of it and put it on your portfolio so that I can hear.